But with all of that, with the battle and the conflict reveals our identity, it gives us an opportunity to go, here I am, right here, whether I win or lose, whether you absolutely embarrass me or I get to walk away feeling good. I stood here. I took it, you know?
Yeah.
I had the courage to be here. When others may not have thought I could, others thought I would, it doesn't matter. I am here facing this confrontation.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. You're here with Jane and Mark over at Blue Box 29. Today is March 22nd. So with the brand new start of a brand new week, our final week in our third month, and just as a reminder that we do, the first 3 weeks are all 7 days, and then the rest of the month all falls into the final week.
Mm-hmm.
But with that in mind, we are in March. Okay, so we're in our final week of March. This is our transition month into spring. Okay, so spring is all about creation and crossing. We know that through this month, it has all been about the tested hero, the month of trials and destiny. But spring itself is the season of emergence, enchantment, and becoming. So it carries themes of creation, hidden worlds, and sacred trials, where life starts, veils thin, and destiny begins to test its shape. Emotions rise into wonder, desire, courage, and transformation spring and transform through mystery and choice, asking us to step across thresholds, answer callings, and return changed by what we dare to face. Spring asks us to change, and it does force change. I mean, it's asking us to change with the earth.
Yeah.
Kind of how a lot of times people feel very dark and depressed and more gloomy during the darker months, our winter months. Spring asks us to rise
Yeah.
to the occasion, to face these things.
I know it's been affecting me this year more than I've ever noticed it before, like the winter months and now spring for sure. Like I have never been the type to have a lot of light coming into my house. I've always kind of enjoyed having dark curtains and whatever and being in that dark. But now I'm like more being in the light. But that's because it was always like I'm watching TV or I'm on my phone. I don't want the light coming in and bugging me. And now I'm not really on the TV or watching my phone to where I'm not needing that dark and I'm craving the light and the fresh air. So I'm opening windows or going outside more. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know how soon you noticed after me living here how I opened every window.
yeah.
Every window had light coming through. I kind of was curious how long it took you to notice that I was opening windows and leaving them open. Because I told you during the day when I'm working and stuff, even moving around the house, I'll play some TV in the background, but that glare's always there so that when we watch a movie at night or something, I don't necessarily notice because I'm always moving. But the life in the house now, the plants, that's a big thing. You didn't have plants before. And so you weren't seeing what the darkness does to a home because it's not just, oh, plants are in here, so they need light. No, this is our home.
Yeah. So I did too. And it was like the energy was always low compared to what it is now. And it seems like it's always just like a positive space to walk into, you know?
And that's what I'm hoping for. I just want everything that's in here to thrive, like the plants and the animals. And I think the animals are liking it. I mean, when I'm out on the porch putting the plants in, the animals are out on the porch with me. So both cats and all 3 dogs are out there.
Right.
While I'm playing with the stuff and they're just all hanging out.
Yeah. Loving
So
it.
they like it. And then they kind of like coming in and seeing where they go. And I'm excited because the month April is heavy into that life.
Nice.
So we jump heavy into that after this month, March.
Right.
Okay, so March is all about the tested hero, calling and prophecy, trials and gatekeeping, burden and leadership, betrayal and endurance, courage and sacrifice, moral choice, destiny fulfilled in standing in your true role. So we see that kind of stand today. Today is March 22nd, okay? We popped right into our fourth and final week of our destiny is sealed. Okay, so in our hero archetype, our tested hero, their destiny is sealed today. We're kicking that off with the battle.
Mhm.
So a lot of people think that the battle is the end. Whether we die or we succeed, the battle is the end. And I'm sorry, whether we die or survive, because it
Right.
doesn't always mean we're successful if we survive. It's never the end. It's never the end for either side. I mean, we see so many cultures. Yeah, we've lost a lot throughout history, but so many cultures have lost,
Mhm.
but their tales have lived longer than those who conquered them. Their names have survived, regardless of how they've tried to be destroyed. But today is the battle, and our theme is confrontation. We are no longer at anything other than having to stand and fight. So that is our topic today, and it's just exciting. You get to see both sides today, winners, losers, and just the important thing to remember is the battle itself. What is it? What is the confrontation? Why? And you'll see that in 4 stories today: Norse, Hindu, Trojan, and Aztec. 3 of these you've seen or have been mentioned before. The last one, though, the Aztec, I mean, you can call it mythology all you want. It's historical,
Yeah.
right? So who's to say the other 3 weren't?
Right.
Anyways, keep that in mind today when you see these 4 stories for the battle. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1: Ragnarok in the Final Battle. Ragnarok, the prophesied end of the world in Norse mythology, is not merely a tale of destruction, but a moment when all hidden truths are brought violently into the open, where gods, giants, and creatures of myth step fully into who they are, no longer restrained by time, balance, or illusion. Long before the final battle begins, the world itself begins to fracture, as a great winter known as Fimbulwinter descends, bringing years of relentless cold, signaling that order has begun to collapse. And as this deep imbalance spreads, the forces once bound begin to break free, including Fenrir, the monstrous wolf who had been chained by the gods out of fear of his power, and Jormungand, the great serpent that encircles the world, rises from the depths of the ocean, causing the seas to churn and spill onto the land. While in the underworld, Loki, the trickster long punished for his betrayals, is released, gathering the enemies of the gods and preparing for the final confrontation that has been foretold for ages. The gods themselves are not unaware of what is coming, for Odin, the Allfather, has long sought knowledge of Ragnarok, even sacrificing his eye for wisdom. And though he understands that this battle will not end in victory, he does not attempt to escape it, instead gathering the fallen warriors of Valhalla, known as the Einherjar, preparing them not to survive but to stand, because in Norse worldview, honor is not found in avoiding fate, but in facing it fully. When the battle begins, it is not chaos alone, but a convergence of all forces. As the sky splits, the earth trembles, and the battlefield becomes a place where every being meets their destined counterpart. Odin faces Fenrir and is ultimately consumed, not because he is weak, but because fate demands it, while Thor confronts Jormungand, striking the serpent down with his hammer, Mjolnir, yet taking only 9 steps before succumbing to its venom, demonstrating that even the strongest victories carry consequence. And across the battlefield, Freyr falls to the fire giant Surtur, who brings flames so vast they consume the world itself, reducing everything, gods, land, and sky, to ash. Yet within this immense destruction there is something deeper than loss, for Ragnarök does not end in nothingness, but in renewal. As from the ashes, a new world rises, green and fertile, untouched by the corruption that came before. And a small number of gods survive, along with 2 human beings, Leif and Leifthrilsir, who emerge to repopulate the world, carrying forward life into a new beginning. The Norse did not tell this story to inspire fear, but to reveal a truth about existence itself. That conflict is not always avoidable, that endings are often necessary for transformation, and that who one is becomes clearest not in comfort, but in confrontation. Because when everything familiar is stripped away, when the structures that once held life together fall apart, what remains is not what one hoped to be, but what one has chosen to become all along. Story 2. Kurukshetra and the War Within. On the vast plains of Kurukshetra, a battle was prepared that would shape not only kingdoms, but the understanding of duty, identity, and inner conflict for generations. For this was not merely a war between opposing sides, but a confrontation between righteousness and attachment, between action and hesitation, between who one is and what one must become. At the center of this moment stood Arjuna, a warrior of great skill and discipline, known for his precision and strength. Yet as he looked across the battlefield, what he saw did not inspire confidence, but hesitation. For standing before him were not strangers, but teachers, elders, and family, those who had shaped his life and now stood as opponents in a war that felt impossible to justify. And in that moment, his resolve faltered. His bow slipped from his hands, and he turned to his charioteer Krishna, who was no ordinary guide, but a divine presence, an incarnation of Vishnu, there not to fight, but to reveal. Arjuna questioned everything, asking how he could raise his weapon against those he loved, how victory could hold meaning if it required such loss, and whether it would be better to abandon the battle entirely, to step away rather than participate in destruction. And it is here, in this pause before conflict, that one of the most profound teachings emerges. For Krishna does not respond with commands, but with clarity, explaining that Arjuna's struggle is not truly about the battle before him, but about his attachment to outcomes, his fear of consequence, and his misunderstanding of his role within the greater order of existence. For each person, Krishna explains, has a dharma, a duty aligned with their nature and purpose, and to abandon that duty out of fear or confusion is to move away from truth itself. He teaches that action must be taken not for reward, not for recognition, and not even for personal satisfaction, but because it is right, because it is aligned, because it is necessary, and that the outcome of that action is not for the individual to control. For clinging to results creates suffering, while acting with clarity creates freedom. And as Krishna speaks, he reveals his true form, vast and infinite, encompassing all creation, showing Arjuna that life and death, gain and loss, victory and defeat are all part of a greater unfolding that cannot be fully grasped through limited perception. And in witnessing this, Arjuna's understanding shifts, not because the battle becomes easier, but because he sees it differently, no longer as a personal conflict, but as a moment requiring alignment with truth. With this realization, Arjuna lifts his bow once more, not out of anger, not out of vengeance, but out of clarity, stepping into battle, not as someone seeking victory, but as someone fulfilling his role within the greater order, understanding that the true battlefield is not only external, but internal, where doubt, fear, and attachment must be faced and overcome. The War of Kurukshetra becomes more than a historical or mythological event. It becomes a reflection of the human experience, where each person must confront moments of decision, where standing still is no longer possible, and where action reveals identity, not in what is achieved, but in how and why it is carried out. For in the end, the lesson is not that conflict defines who we are, but that how we meet it does, and that when we act in alignment with truth, even the most difficult battles become pathways to understanding. Story 3: The Fall of Troy and the Cost of Conflict. For 10 long years, the city of Troy stood against the forces of Greece, its walls unbroken, its people enduring, its fate suspended between survival and collapse. And though the war was sparked by the taking of Helen, said to be the most beautiful woman in the world, its deeper roots lay in pride, honor, and the fragile balance between desire and consequence. As kings and warriors gathered not only for love or loyalty, but for reputation, for legacy, and for the need to prove strength before the world. Among the Greeks stood figures of immense renown, including Achilles, whose unmatched skill in battle made him nearly unstoppable, and Odysseus, whose mind proved as powerful as any blade, while within Troy, warriors like Hector, prince and protector of the city, stood as symbols of duty, defending not for glory, but for home, for family, for the people who depended on him. And as the war stretched on, it became clear that neither side would easily claim victory. For Troy's walls held firm, and brute force alone could not break them. The turning point did not come through strength, but through strategy, as Odysseus devised a plan that would alter the course of the war, a plan built not on confrontation, but on deception. The construction of the Trojan horse, a massive wooden structure left outside the gates as a supposed offering, while the Greek army appeared to withdraw, creating the illusion of surrender. And within the horse, hidden from sight, were soldiers waiting in silence. The Trojans, believing the war to be over, brought the horse inside their walls, celebrating what they thought was a victory, unaware that they had carried their downfall into their own city. And as night fell and the city slept, the hidden warriors emerged, opening the gates to the returning Greek forces. And in that moment, Troy's fate was sealed, not through a final clash of armies, but through a single decision made under false certainty. What followed was devastation, as the city that had endured a decade of war fell in a single night, its people scattered, its legacy transformed into story. And in this, the tale of Troy becomes more than a narrative of conquest. It becomes a reflection on the nature of conflict itself, revealing that battles are not always won by strength alone, and that the greatest dangers are often those that appear harmless, those that are welcomed without question, those that bypass awareness. The fall of Troy also reveals the cost of prolonged conflict, where both sides, driven by pride and purpose, lose more than they gain. As heroes fall, families are broken, and the line between victory and loss becomes blurred. For even those who win carry the weight of what was destroyed to achieve it. In the end, Troy stands not only as a symbol of a fallen city, but as a reminder that conflict reveals identity, that choices made in moments of tension shape outcomes that cannot be undone, and that awareness, more than force, determines whether one stands or falls when the final moment arrives. Story 4: The Siege of Tenochtitlan and the Clash of Worlds. In the early 16th century, upon an island in the Great Lake of Texcoco, there stood a city unlike any the world had yet seen, Tenochtitlan, a place of canals, temples, and precise order, where the Mexican people had built a powerful empire guided by ritual, structure, and a deep connection to the divine, and for generations it had thrived, its influence extending across vast regions, its system sustaining millions, its identity rooted in both strength and belief. Yet this stability would soon be tested by forces from beyond its known world. In 1519, Hernan Cortes and his Spanish forces arrived on the shores of Mesoamerica, bringing with them not only weapons and unfamiliar technology, but alliances with indigenous groups who had their own conflicts with the Mexican. And as these two worlds moved toward each other, misunderstanding, ambition, and imbalance shaped the path ahead. For the Mexica ruler Moctezuma II initially approached the newcomers with caution and diplomacy, uncertain of their nature, while the Spanish, driven by conquest and expansion, saw opportunity. And what began as contact quickly shifted into tension, then into conflict. As events escalated, Cortés and his allies eventually laid siege to Tenochtitlan, cutting off access to resources, disrupting supply routes, and surrounding the city in a prolonged and devastating confrontation, where the Mexica, led by warriors who understood the land, the waterways, and the structure of the city, resisted with determination, defending not only territory, but identity, belief, and way of life. And for months, the conflict stretched on, marked by intense battles, shifting control, and immense loss on all sides, as disease, brought unknowingly by the Europeans, spread through the population, weakening resistance and altering the balance in ways no strategy could have predicted. Despite these conditions, the defense of Tenochtitlan did not collapse immediately, for the Mexica continued to fight, adapting to the changing circumstances, holding their ground as long as possible, demonstrating that even in the face of overwhelming force, identity does not disappear easily, but is carried through action, through resistance, through the refusal to yield without standing fully in what one represents. Eventually, however, the city fell in 1521, its structures damaged, its systems broken, its people forced into a new and uncertain reality. And with its fall came the end of an era, the transformation of a civilization, and the beginning of a different order imposed upon the land. Yet the story does not end solely in loss, for the legacy of Tenochtitlan endures, not only in history, but in culture, memory, and identity that continues to exist beyond the moment of defeat. This story reveals that conflict is not always balanced, that outcomes are not always determined by fairness or strength alone, and that identity, when tested, is revealed not only in victory, but in how one stands within the struggle itself. For the Mexica did not define themselves by the fall of their city, but by how they faced the moment, and in that, their story becomes not only one of confrontation, but of enduring presence, of a people whose identity cannot be erased by a single outcome, but continues beyond it. Hey, everybody, welcome back in. Hope you enjoyed those 4 battle stories today. So our theme was confrontation. So we're kicking off our week 4 of Destiny Sealed with our battle. Okay, so we just saw 4 different cultures who had confrontation. And you could see through those 4 cultures who tell the story or where it comes from, there are other cultures who felt that same battle one way or another. People were coming home and having to share with families that their family members not coming home, that
Mhm.
they remain where they fell. And so I think it's important to think about that as well. And no, I'm not talking about the some of the ones where it is that corruption and that trickery. I mean, you get to see Odysseus he was someone that used trickery too.
Yeah.
And he's a hero. Very different from Cortez. Very different, right?
Right.
Not taking the brutality and enjoyment out of destroying people.
Yeah.
Odysseus was doing it as you kind of got to see today through that movie. Yeah, it's a movie, but he couldn't afford to have his people fall because of what Agamemnon would do,
Yeah.
right? Whereas Cortez, it was more out of cruelty or fear of this culture, this
Mhm.
empire. I mean, you cross the ocean thinking that you are the greatest nation. I mean, Spain was unbelievable in the naval field, right?
Mhm.
In exploration. And they come here thinking, wow, we got it figured out. And these primitive people have created things that are still being used today. still are being discovered today.
Right.
Yeah, it's just cool to see this. And our lesson is that conflict reveals identity. Our very first story, we jump into Ragnarok. Okay. We know that Odin knew it was coming, the gods knew it was coming. We see our heroes going into the end. So it's our very first thing where they know that they're going to lose. Many of
Mm,
them know their fate. Many of them know their counterpart. I think it was beautifully stated in this rendition that they were all going to face their counterparts, right? They knew that whoever they faced was just as mighty as they were, but
mhm.
they had a job. They had a job.
And,
And
like, how they simultaneously, like, with Thor, the first one, where it was like they are the first one besides Odin or whatever they talked about,
right,
where it was like he struck it down, yeah, but he took 9
9
steps.
steps. Hugely significant, the number of steps.
Yep.
And it's it's just it's cool to think of 9 steps of, yeah, I know I'm going to die, but with every step, I could just imagine
Yeah.
what was going through Thor, that
He was
mighty.
probably walking too, because he knew the
Right.
he was already he was probably walking to the field of reeds they do, or
Valhalla.
Valhalla.
So yeah, walking to just be sure, that thing's fallen. And Thor's children were there. They do survive. Two of two of them survive. I don't know how many children Thor had, but Odin dying was
Yeah.
necessary because the god that avenges him survives.
Right.
Okay, that god had to rise to the
And who
occasion
was that?
and avenge his death. I believe it was Hyther. I don't know how to pronounce the name, but it's the silent god. The silent god is known for avenging Odin's death.
Mm,
So he comes back. Baldir returns after Ragnarok. So
oh,
he comes back. Vali, the god born of vengeance, survives. Baldir's brother, the one who kills him,
Loki.
he's resurrected. So
Loki?
not Loki, Hother or Hotter, the one that was blind, the blind
Oh,
brother that threw the dart.
yeah.
He's resurrected after
Oh,
Ragnarok. And then Frigg, Odin's wife, she is said to survive and reunite with her sons.
mm,
Okay, so she gets Baldur back.
right.
So that that right there makes me believe that Odin knew Loki was the one that stopped Baldur coming back. Because Odin is unbelievably devoted to Frigg. I mean, Odin has magical properties too, but
Mhm,
he's not like Zeus, who has all these infidelities left and right.
mhm.
That's not a part of their culture.
Yeah.
And it makes me believe that Odin allowed Frigg to suffer because he knew one day she would be the only thing left, one of the only things, and he would come back to her, and Odin would be gone. But they're equals. So I truly believe that Frigg was probably like that son of a donkey. Like his last gift to me
Mm,
was allowing me to meet with my children again,
yeah.
because that's what Odin gave her,
That's beautiful.
right? And he let other heroes rise and stand with his wife,
Mm,
stand with his kids. And then Thor's son, Magni and Modi, inherit his hammer. They survive and carry his legacy forward. And it kind of makes sense because you see these deities with hammers and lightning with them
mhm.
across cultures. Like Australia has one that's one of the oldest petroglyphs
Oh, really?
stating that god. What if one of the children,
Yeah.
what if they separated the earth? What if they separated Midgard for each other?
Mhm.
Because they weren't their dad.
Right?
It just is kind of a cool interpretation, and it makes sense if children were inheriting the place of their parents and carrying their legacy forward. It's just cool to kind of think of in that way.
Right.
But those are all the gods that survive. It wasn't a huge list. And most of our major heroes go. But again, Odin had to know that Loki was going to stir up that trouble, that Loki was going to have these people rise.
So they
Again,
would
that
all get
yin
out of
and
the way.
yang, Odin and Loki were necessary for each other.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think for a second Loki thought Odin didn't know what he was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I
that
think he wanted to be
Loki
done as much as.
and Loki would be bored if Odin was any different.
Mm-hmm.
Because Odin and Loki, they are equals in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
I think they
Odin
are
can
more
bear,
brothers than.
yeah, and they are brothers in the mythology.
Right.
But Odin can bear more responsibility. But
Mm-hmm.
but Loki can bear the consequences just as well as Odin can. And so I think that those two are very interesting, and I think they're the epitome of yin and yang
Yeah.
because they're both necessary. They're both equal in the havoc that they can wreak.
Right.
And who's to say that they weren't the same person?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because it makes you wonder, same thing. Why does God allow the devil to roam then if he's all powerful? Why does Odin allow Loki to do this? He's all powerful.
And he's seen it. Yeah. Why would
Because
he?
it's not about the battle, it's about after. It's
Yeah.
not about my
It's
outcome.
about, well, not even that. It's about the experience. It's about the now.
Yep.
Like, honestly, like, that's a big thing too. Is like, yeah, in this story, that's what we're interpreting it as. But he also was like, this moment, the experiencing this, the going back and forth. I'm sure that was fun to him. The living these moments, knowing, yes, this is where it's going to go, but it's still going to work out. So I'm not even going to worry about the later because I already know. Like, I'm not going to be there, but oh well, I'm not going to be there. So live in the now that he was doing. And he
Right.
got to enjoy that time of playing that game to make sure it did go to that
And
spot.
the very fact that something will survive, like he was told, something will survive, is the ultimate win. Because evil will not end the life here.
Right.
And Odin knew that. And so it wasn't about his outcome. It was about the fact that it's kind of a chuckle in the face of evil that there's something higher
Yep.
than
You still
all
made
of
it.
this
Yep.
that's going to ensure life continues. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not my time anymore. I think the hardest thing for Odin was knowing that his people would go, though, too.
Yeah.
I don't think Odin was ever trying to find out more so he could survive. But I just love that he knows he's going to die, but ooh, my baby girl is going to have her son back. Two of them are coming back to her.
Yeah.
And I trust them. I'm not needed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's beautiful. It's sad, but that's the epitome of a father. I mean, it is. My lineage will go on, and I have a partner who will ensure that my memory will never die. Not that she's talking about Odin all the time, but she's following his practices. She's doing things for the people. She's
Mm-hmm.
doing things that are right. She's loving, seeking knowledge. She loved
Oh.
knowledge as well. And that's a beautiful thing. Story 2, we're faced with divine beings showing us that they do sometimes come speak to us
Mm-hmm.
because we need help. And this was, this reincarnation, Krishna is coming, speaks to Arjuna, doesn't say, you have to do this, you have to do this. It's, listen, are you going to stand in your purpose and what's right? Or are you going to allow fear and confusion to take you? That's what it is. It's not about your feelings.
Yeah.
This battle is going to happen with or without you. But you are ultimately the one that could end it sooner and change the trajectory of it. So, are you going to allow your emotions now to get into the way of what's to come? The potential that will come of this. And every time I think of this story, it just is, you chose this life. You have the skills that others would kill for. You have the responsibility and the burden of a leader. And this is where leaders are proven. Leaders aren't proven during the good times. They're proven during the ugly times where they have to stand in the face of someone that they know and love who's in the wrong and go, I do not stand for this. You are wrong. And it's terrible and it's awful, but it's a necessary burden that leaders have to have.
Right.
And you do not, as we see in the next story too, just like this one, I'll just transition right in. You do not have to be the king, the number one in charge to lead. And it usually isn't. And you see it so much in the stories about Troy and it didn't start there. And we still do it today.
Mhm.
Soldiers are numbers. We lost this many people. Okay, how about you say their names?
Yeah.
But you say the names of the people that died for their country.
Yeah. Or the wives and the children that don't get to see their father,
Hmm.
you know?
And Achilles knew he was going to die here.
Mhm.
And we see early on that he allows his pride to push him to cause devastation. But that's what Achilles was always preaching. That's what soldiers are. I'm a slave to my abilities. That's what Achilles was. That's what these Odysseus, Hector, Arjuna, they're a slave to their abilities
Mm.
because soldiers are soldiers
That's what they
and
know,
you
that's what
do
they
what you're
do, and
told. And Achilles went, okay, I don't agree with this. Don't like King of Kings Agamemnon, who's
mhm,
arrogant, who's a terrible human being who, yeah, I will stand over your body or I will make sure you die
mhm,
before I fall.
right?
And you know what? I love it because Agamemnon, prideful. Yeah, we remember the kings. That's true. But Achilles, in short, if I'm going to go, my name will be remembered. Yeah, King Agamemnon is remembered, but it's not nearly as impressive as Achilles' name. We have an Achilles heel.
Right.
Like, legitimately, we have a body part named after this person.
Yeah, and if you cut it, you can't do anything. You can't
Right.
walk.
Ugh, I've seen that in a horror movie before. But then we see Odysseus having to fight, like I said earlier, having to fight because of the arrogance of kings.
Yeah,
If you don't, as a strong king and ruler, Odysseus was a king, if you don't fight with me, I'll destroy your people. And he does come to his shore and say, okay, you or your son.
mhm,
And just Odysseus, yeah. Could Odysseus, could Achilles, could Hector kill Agamemnon? Absolutely. But Achilles and Odysseus, neither of them wanted to step in that place.
yeah,
Neither of them wanted that. And what would happen to Greece?
yeah.
Because without Agamemnon's protection, though, what happens?
Yeah,
Their
and
people.
his brutality made people afraid to do things,
Mhm.
so it was almost like a necessary evil, as sickening as it sounds, but, truly things do happen for a reason,
And
and
then
within that
reverse.
story.
In reverse, as we like to think today, and Troy could have absolutely taken out the Greeks
Right?
with the history of Rome,
Yeah.
right? And so now we just see heroes falling. And yeah, we blame Helen of Troy, who's actually Queen of Sparta, for a war. Look into it, guys. Not every interpretation, Helen is actually in Troy. Ironically enough, it's stuff that's happening today in 2026 because of something Helen did, potentially could have triggered it. But check out check out what Helen did in Egypt when someone else went to Troy in her place. Check it out. See what you notice. Because it is interesting that we say this war was fought for her. It could have definitely been fought over for an illusion, but every person that fell know exactly why that war happened. The pride of arrogant men.
Yes.
The pride of people that not the pride of people, the greed of people. And Troy was untouchable. Those walls, even through the fall, those walls didn't fall.
Mhm.
Those walls did their job.
The
The
only reason
Trojans
is
just let
because
themselves
someone was
down.
just arrogant and didn't think about it, and, like, in the movie, the son is like, "Burn it," you know? And obviously the
And in the
arrogance of.
myth, the princess tells him not to bring it in.
Yeah. Oof.
But she was cursed that no one would believe her. So I'm irritated that she didn't flip the script
That's right.
and go, don't bring it in. Or, bring it in
Yeah,
because
but
it's a
that's
beautiful gift.
yeah,
Then they might not have believed her potentially. But I think it was also the fact that when she spoke, the actual prophecy wouldn't be believed
right.
because she shared with them, you bring that in here, it's the fall of Troy. It's a trick. She is the one, I believe in the actual myth, that says burn it outside the gates. Burn it for Poseidon and Athena. Allow them to see that we honor them, but keep it out of the walls.
Right.
And Odysseus knew, I need to get home to my woman. I'm done with this war for stupid crap. This is stupid. I don't want to be here. I want to go home. And then he's punished
Right.
on the way home by another arrogant man. You're going to hurt my child who ate half of your men? How dare you? It's literally, I'm better than you. I'm higher than you. How dare you? We could say, whoa, 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 whoa. Poseidon was a god. Let's remember, Poseidon's a child of higher divine beings. This isn't like Poseidon and like the Holy Trinity of
But that's the
Christianity are
thing
the
is a
same.
lot of these gods and stuff, they're not even true gods. They were just higher beings with more abilities than we had at that time. So they were able to utilize that.
Sometimes, I mean, it's just soldiers are fighting. Whether they think it's right or wrong, they're defending their people and their country, and they have to follow orders. And I love that Achilles threw the big middle finger to Agamemnon and said, all right, watch this. I know I'm dying here. I know better than most the divinity that's messing with this. But your blood it will bleed out here. And you will be nothing. And I will live. I won this war. And he did. Him and Odysseus, they won this war. And unfortunately, the second that Hector was gone, so was the city. I don't believe Hector would have allowed that horse to come in.
No.
They were banking on the unawareness and the naivety of these people without their defender, without their leader. King Priam is so filled with grief that honestly, who cares?
Yeah.
Cool, we won.
And he wouldn't listen to the wussy one that ran away from a fight.
Paris.
Yeah. If that even happened in though.
So yeah, the actual myth is that Athena wipes him off the battlefield. So a god intervenes and takes him off the field.
So then the king definitely would be filled with grief at that moment of just not.
Well, yeah, and they are seeing them on the battlefield, they're seeing them. And the coolest thing reading the actual Iliad is that some of these men went after them.
Oh, really?
Some
After
of
the
these
gods?
mortal men were going after Apollo. I think someone struck Apollo.
Really?
And I think someone may have injured or did something to Athena at one point too. But these men and these heroes are seeing this divinity.
Yeah, because they're not truly gods. They were just
Hector was protected
humans.
by one of them.
Yeah.
And then Zeus is like, pull back. Y'all are done. But of course, some of them don't listen. Of course, little girls, daddy's favorite, can go down and continue to do stuff, right? And then when she's called out, I mean, Zeus is mad. This is the instance where he tells Hera to shut up and sit down. If you intervene again, I will destroy you. It's not you're dead. He's going to wipe her completely out of existence.
Wow.
So Zeus does hold his ground. Hera has every reason to never go after him. But he gets tired of her crap. Gets tired of Athena.
Yeah.
He gets tired of his children. But he still enjoys playing chess, allowing these heroes to fall, because it's a lesson for us humans to know that these heroes can fall. But man, did those heroes cut some of those gods up. Did they, just Achilles knew that the gods were there and still desecrated the temple. He's like, yeah, they are there and they don't love us. We're a game. These people that interfere, it's a game to them. We're nothing but numbers. And yes, he was cursed. Achilles was cursed with his strength and his abilities. Odysseus was cursed with his wit, his mind. Thank goodness he got a happy ending. And unfortunately, Hector didn't get the happy ending in this life, but I like to believe that his people survived.
Yeah.
They carried his name forward. And even if they didn't, the Greeks did. The Greeks valued Hector enough to allow his story to continue beyond his life.
Yeah, that didn't die.
That's something too, those soldiers remember the people on the other side and what they did. There are a lot of soldiers that you will talk to or you'll see documentaries of, and they acknowledge the other side and how those people too are fighting for their country. Yeah, not all of them think that. Some have some harsh words about the other side for sure,
Yeah.
because they've seen things I haven't seen.
Right. Who
They've
are we
been
to
through
say
things.
anything if we haven't been there? You
But
know?
there were a lot of World War I, World War II veterans who did
Yeah.
interviews, and just humans were dying. It didn't matter. I mean, you saw Desmond Doss, World War II. He saved those men on Hacksaw Ridge, and not all of the ones he lowered were American. You
Yeah.
know that he lowered some Japanese soldiers
Mm.
because it wasn't about them versus us.
It was about
We're
humans.
serving our countries, we're serving our people, what we think is right. And no, he didn't justify the Nazi regime. He didn't justify the Japanese procedures or how they did it. They were terrifying, the way they dug those tunnels.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how many Irish people were damaged during the World War I tunnels, like mentally. That's generational. You
Yeah.
know, that hurts. But the winners don't always erase people. And this is a huge story that showcases that Troy fell because Hector fell. And I think the Greeks gave him that. And it makes me believe that it had to come from someone like Odysseus. It had to come from a hero who survived. Because who else would talk about the arrogance of Agamemnon, about the disgust of these kings? But then pride, Achilles, even though it was all about his own self-ego, and then lay Hector to rest. I think Odysseus made sure that these people got the proper acknowledgement. I
Yeah.
like to believe. And then our fourth story, this is a story where we see Cortez come in and wipe out the Mexica. It's just this battle came out of fear. I truly believe. Just fear and misunderstanding, taking advantage of people who offered hospitality.
Mm.
They did. This wasn't just like the Native Americans, right, who offered hospitality. That happened in both North and South America, right? And they're here saying, okay, there are these people a little worried, right? But they come in, they see everything, they say we're primitive beings. Then why have we lived like this for centuries completely satisfied? Okay, they have a whole different interpretation on gold and these natural resources. And these people come in and it's never enough. Where's your source though? Where's it coming from? I'm giving you all that we have.
Yeah.
We'll give you everything. It doesn't matter to us.
Yeah.
Our culture matters. Our people matter. And then we just slaughter them.
Yeah. It's so sad.
And I say we because everyone's done it at one point.
Yeah.
Everyone.
One culture has.
Just like we've all suffered in one way or another. But this, I mean, it reminded me, of course, this was Aztec. Mexica is originally the Aztec verbiage, but it's the exact same thing that happened to the Incas.
Yeah.
Fill this room full of gold and we'll let you out, right? There wasn't a situation like that here. But these lands, I mean, if you look at places like Cusco and stuff, they're still prominent places. You know, those streets are still lined with the original stuff. The architecture is still standing, and not just in Aztec or Mayan or Incan. It's standing in places underwater. Tombs are being discovered. I believe it was an Aztec tomb where people swam through this tunnel, right? And there's a huge, huge tomb in there of all these jewels, of all this precious crystal, and people buried there. And you want to know what they think? Don't touch it. This is sacred ground. And I love that. Because
Yeah.
it's too dangerous for a majority of people to get to.
That's good.
But those people that have tried to take it, yeah, bad things have happened, right? It is cursed, they believe. But it's so much that we think it's a curse when it really is the world going, have some gosh darn respect. You're willing to take it off dead people when they went into the afterlife, as that is their offering to the world. It wasn't a bribe, it was an offering.
Yeah.
You know, and then we just take it, oh, because it's worth something. It's like the fact that we put bodies in museums. That's crazy to me. It's terrible. It's just awful, I think. And it's like, wow, this is the greatest leader ever. He's standing here. I get to see him. But I just get disgusted because I'm like, there's no way that anybody wanted this. There's no way that these leaders wanted their bodies to be found and then shoved in a box Look at the Smithsonian. Majority of their stuff's underground, and they will never let us see it. Bodies, cultural information, beautiful artifacts stored away just so that we don't get to appreciate them, just so that they don't get to be laid to rest. I absolutely think that messing with any burial place is a curse on yourself.
Yeah.
But it's a self-inflicted one because you don't have respect. Because why? It just,
I think the only way it'd be appropriate is if you knew that it was your body from a past life, and then you went to your higher self and you said, "Hey, can I go take my stuff from my past life so I can use it in this life?" And then they'll be like, "Well, it's the same soul, so I don't see why not. Go ahead." And then you'd be like, "All
and then
right,
they would
thank
be
you.
like, hey, here it is,
Yeah, it's right here." But
But I
being
just
respectful.
I can't see myself being I'm so desperate for money that I'm willing to disrespect this person and what
Yeah.
happened here. And I'm not saying the body itself, because the body, it's just a vessel.
Yeah,
They're
it's
gone, they're dead. They aren't gonna
their soul
notice.
is
Yeah, cool, they're not gonna notice, but my heart will notice. My higher being will notice. The
yeah,
earth will notice. And it acts out all the time. Look at everything bad that's happened for people that are disrespecting stuff in Egypt.
yeah.
We mess with things we don't understand, and
Hmm.
then we get upset. Oh, well, it's a curse. No, it's not. It's balance. It's harmony.
Yeah.
It's humbling you to the fact that, okay, if it was worth it, then you'll die for it. You'll suffer for it too. And that's a beautiful way to work around it because I don't know, the Mayan, the Aztec, and the Incan, we'd be so much more advanced had we not just destroyed things we didn't understand.
There's so much. Well, I mean, there's a bunch that we do know and possibly don't understand. I mean, who truly knows? But I know there's a whole bunch of stuff. I truly feel that there is a bunch of stuff that is just hidden in a box somewhere in some container that nobody gets to see or know about because someone decided that they won't make money or profit from it.
Or they don't wanna return it because, like the indigenous people, the Native Americans, they called for it back and they passed, whatever law, bill that everyone had to return it except the Smithsonian.
Yeah.
So where did it all get shipped or
Well, dude, I
compensated?
saw some crazy stuff that in 1944 or whatever year it was, I believe it was that the Smithsonian even wrote about this thing, and they were talking about. I was watching a show about a guy that did the what the heck is it called? A microscope
Oh,
where he
yeah.
found germs, and he was able to cure back in the 40s cancer and 60 diseases, including tuberculosis and cancer, with vibrations. And he found that out because of this little microscope that he invented with Zenith. And the Smithsonian said that, oh my gosh, it works. They printed a thing, everything was like hunky dory. And then that's where I saw the quote, if I can't put a meter on it or this or that, that I don't want it to be a thing.
Right.
So they bought it, buried it, and then the day before he was going to go live, and the day before somebody else on the other side of the country was going to go live with their stuff, they were going to present their stuff
Their findings?
uh, to a larger thing because they already had dinners where there was pictures of them with a bunch of doctors, all the whatever, and they were like, yeah. But then the American Cancer Society, there's a couple other ones, they were against it because they didn't get to make any money off of it. And both the labs with all the stuff, because it's pre-computers and everything was in those labs. All the documentation of everyone that was healed, where everybody had already wrote about it, that this was a miracle thing that happened. They all burnt down. And then next thing you know, that they're getting sued and saying that everything's fake. And even though they won the lawsuits, it was too late and they couldn't rebuild because they were broke. And it's so
And those
sad.
people are called kooks.
And what's crazy is like they're called kooks, and we still societally are like, ooh, give me more drugs. Gotta go to the doctor. Gotta go get more drugs.
Because
When
I want an
we
instant
didn't,
fix. I
we
don't wanna heal, I want an instant fix.
Well, it's because we don't understand that what they were talking about, that we are energy. We're not physical, like in the pharmaceutical way. We are an energetical thing. That's why you can hook up little sensors on our body and it reads like those little energy
Vibrations and
waves
stuff.
and stuff. It's because we are an electrical current. That's why we need to have salt. That's why we need to have water, because that's what our body is.
Right.
You know, we are energy.
Absolutely. I mean, if we weren't, we wouldn't have other beings, nature responding to us the way it does.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, when I was moving the plants over and I was saying, okay, what should I speak to them and
Hmm.
everything, it said, actually, this is really important what you say when they're exposed and then when you put them in their pots. It's not this like kind of woo woo stuff. And it even said that it's not this woo woo stuff. It's been proven
Hmm.
that it is actually helping and that plants, because they have life in them, they register the tone and frequency. No, they don't understand the English language,
No,
but
it's
they
the tone and frequency
recognize the
of.
frequency
Yep.
that's coming at them. They
Because words
recognize
make
the
noise and
vibration and
vibration. Hmm.
energy and they respond to that. That's why you see a plant that's so healthy and you move it and it does bad or vice versa. They speak to us. I'm unhappy here.
Yeah, I don't like it here. Like,
Yes,
that's why that plant over there, you guys can't see it, it's out of camera view, but I got a plant when
a
my
succulent.
little guy here, went to the other side. They gave me a succulent and we repotted it. And to me, the way it's growing right now, it looks super cool. So I thought that's how it was supposed to be. It's not, I guess. But because the way it's growing, I can actually make more plants out of it. So out of this one that's not growing the way it's supposed to because it's unhappy, so I moved it to where it suggested I move it to, and now I'm going to get more plants out of that one that could produce a bunch. What I was reading is you can do like cool little garden things with them
Yeah, a
too.
lot with
You
succulents,
just
they'll
lay
grow
them on
around
the
each other.
ground. You don't even plant them. You just lay them there and then they'll just sprout down into the ground. And then you can have tiny little things, little, like, you know how they have little rocks and stuff,
Yeah.
cute little. I saw a thing and it was like
Ooh,
that's
that's
you can do that,
exciting.
and the top thing that can be snipped and then grown just like the other things where you leave it out, put that piece, and that'll grow a new bulb, and then the other ones we can lay out in a pot flat, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, unless I read it wrong, but you're more the plant person, so
I've told you before I really struggled with cacti and succulents.
yeah. But
Succulents fall
knowing,
within the cacti family, so that may need different soil as
yeah,
well.
probably
More coarse, I would assume.
more of that sandy, really, where it will
But I think
filter
it's
out.
kind of, I don't know, it might be too dangerous to change it now after we moved it. But yeah, plants will speak to you. And yes, some plants are way more dramatic than others. They'll
Hmm.
tell you right away. I mean, my peace lilies, when I had peace lily, it's like every other day it was having a drama, pouting sesh. And I think that honestly, it was because I wasn't at peace with myself. And I don't think that that plant could have thrived where I was.
Yeah.
Whereas someone I know, my friend's roommate, she has one and it's beautiful. She's like always pretty calm and at peace, it feels like. So I'm like, okay, I get it. That's her plant. She does really well with those
Mhm.
plants. And I'm like, the plant that I seem to be doing well with kind of thrives in a little bit of neglect. And I like that though, because it kind of thrives even when it's not being watched.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful, those
That's
golden pothos.
the one way back over there.
Well, the one right above you, baby, in the books.
This one too.
Yep, that's a golden pothos. That one really likes its place.
Yeah.
That one's been very happy since it rooted. Or yeah, since we got that one propagated. It's been very happy.
Dad, look at how many we have from that one that you brought over.
And
Wonder
look
how
at it
many.
now, the one in its original pot, it's massive. And I'm not cutting any of those for a while.
No, because I like the ones that your mom has, because the leaves get bigger when you let it grow too.
Mhm. I think
And what if you did like let it grow to a certain length, and if it keeps growing, just break off that piece, but you don't have to repot every single one.
right.
You can just let it get bigger. Because that's what I was thinking, not letting that keep growing, but to like just make it so the leaves get bigger, you know?
Yeah. And so I'm gonna let it grow continuously a little
Because
bit
it does
more.
that one needs to grow. But I'm saying like to leave some of them short for a while to let it just really get thicker and bigger and then let it maybe grow out.
Yeah. So our daily thread for today is that today we enter the conflict where everything that has been building can no longer be avoided. At Ragnarök, even the gods step into their final battle, showing that some conflicts are not meant to be escaped, but faced with full awareness. On the fields of Kurukshetra, Arjuna confronts the war within, learning that clarity must guide action even when the heart resists. At the walls of Troy, strength gives way to strategy, revealing how unseen choices can determine the outcome of even the longest battles. In the fall of Tenochtitlan, worlds collide, showing that conflict is not always equal, yet identity endures beyond the moment of defeat. Each of these stories reminds us that conflict is not random. It is a moment where everything comes into alignment, where truth, pressure, and identity meet. Where in your life are you being called to face something you can no longer avoid? Conflict reveals the self that can no longer remain hidden. All of these things, whether it's through loss or whatever, the battle, the confrontation, and I hear it all the time. I don't like confrontation. I don't like conflict. That's the moment you're truly revealed. Those people I really think just avoid. And I'm not saying go into everything and fight or whatever, but to always avoid confrontation is showing your character. I think it's just that you're easily defeated. And no, I don't think that means you're not intelligent or anything, but we don't reveal our true identity until we're willing to be confronted and confront others. I like people that would rather have an honest conversation, actual conversation, than do the, oh, well, I don't like conflict and continue to cause problems in the background. For someone that doesn't like conflict, you sure
Then why are
cause a
you
lot of
talking
it.
so much? Yeah. What are you doing?
Right. For
Mhm.
someone that doesn't like conflict, you sure do wreak a lot of negativity around this place.
Yeah.
For someone that doesn't like conflict, you sure are using a tone that's looking like you want to smack. I'm talking about Molly, guys. And no, don't call PETA, don't abuse Molly. But sometimes I'll tell her to put her paws up for me to grab her, and she'll tell me no.
Oh, my goodness.
And then when I storm off, she chases me and starts biting my ankles.
She's a crazy kitten. She even bites your weenus.
Yeah, that's like her favorite place to bite.
Because the bed is the height level that if you're walking by and you don't give her attention, she'll bite you in the weenus.
Yeah.
And the ankles, I guess. Like she rounds you up just like the dog.
Just like Utah. Yeah, the healer dog. I'm like, when did this cat become a healer? Utah's been training her while I'm gone.
Yeah, I guess. He's like, hey, you want to know how to get mom?
But it's the battle, the confrontation. It's not about winning. It's not about being the strongest, the wisest. You know, it reminds me of just on it, the movie of 300. Those Greeks had absolutely zero business fighting with the Spartans.
Yeah.
But when the Spartans were falling from those elite warriors coming in, the Greeks gave them just enough time to find their footing again.
Yeah.
The Greeks knew they were going to die. The Greeks knew that they weren't going to be any more force than the Spartans. They just stepped up and went, look at these men. Look at these fighters. Look at what they fight for. We have to help them get back up.
Yeah.
Because if they're gone, we're all done. And sometimes it's just about facing the fact that we're all afraid. We all are afraid, but we have to step forward and take that confrontation, take that battle, take the win and take the loss. But it's way more important with who I am when I walk away, with what I've done. Can I live with that? Because there's no point in surviving if when you're confronted with this kind of stuff, you do things that destroy your character, destroy your life, everything you've done. There are a lot of heroes that die. There are a lot of people that die, but at least they stood there and faced it, right? We hear about the people that turn and run. Paris, right? Turning and running. You couldn't stand by your choice, and your brother fell for it. Your people died for your choice, and you could have ended it with your death. And because of Paris's decisions, whether it was a mythology or not, Paris knew Helen was the prize. Whether Athena took him off that battlefield or he was afraid, He put Hector in the worst position. Hector already knew what his choices caused. What am I supposed to do? Let them slaughter my brother? It is stand up and be a man and die
Yeah.
for your country if that's what it is. You're facing someone that is 1,000 times stronger than you. But you wanted war, even though you had never taken a life. For love, that man also loved that woman, apparently. And he's taken life. So he accepted your challenge and went, seriously? I totally understand him of that. This is what you left me for? Because it is such a big feeling, whether, I mean, I've been cheated on. And then you see the people, and when they cry, come back and cry to you of how they're treated. You left me for them. You ruined what we had for them. That's what that felt like. This is what you left me for? It makes you honestly not want to fight. It's not even worth it.
Yeah.
This is a joke.
Exactly. That's what I was just about to say. It's a freaking joke.
It's a joke. And that person's going to die for you. And that person's going to die. The city's going to fall. Many of these people don't get to return home. 9 of Odysseus's men that were traveling on the journey home didn't make it. 99 Ithaca men to a small nation already because of 2 people.
Yeah.
They put everyone in impossible situations. That king was done when Hector died. He still had a remaining son, but the honorable one was taken out because of the selfishness of the other. Our choices impact people, and the only thing we can do, and the only thing Paris should have done was stood by his choice, fall by your choice. But I think Paris survives it all. I think Helen might get out too.
I mean, we got to read the real story and not really think about the movie so
No,
much. 'Cause
I'm
it's
still
definitely
reading through the Iliad, so I'm
Right.
like seeing that, but I'm obviously reading it for the Achilles perspective and the Hector. Too concerned about Paris. But with all of that, with the battle and the conflict reveals our identity, it gives us an opportunity to go, here I am, right here, whether I win or lose, whether you absolutely embarrass me or I get to walk away feeling good. I stood here. I took it, you know?
Yeah.
I had the courage to be here. When others may not have thought I could, others thought I would, it doesn't matter. I am here facing this confrontation.
Yeah.
And so your question is, where do I fight? Where am I willing to bear that consequence? Where am I willing to carry that success, regardless of what it costs? And you can't go back. You can't. Where do I fight? So today we're going to clench our fist briefly. So you're going to clench it and you're going to hold it. So we'll say about, let's count to 9. So count to 9 in your head. Now you're going to slowly release it with a 9 count again. Slowly unclench it and count to 9. And then you're going to let the feeling kind of come back in. But that's just to kind of bring the recognition of that necessary tension to feel the strength. I mean, feel how your body feels when you're clenching yourself, the strength that it holds, the feeling that it is when you do go to fight. I mean, this is like universal, like unite and fight and join forces. And I mean, you hit people like that, but then pay attention to how your muscles feel when you release it, because that's you walking away from the conflict, the battle. It doesn't feel great right away, but the farther you go, the more you continue on, that pain is gone. It releases. Yeah, you still remember what that feeling is. You still hold that memory, but it no longer has the same strength to it anymore. That's the purpose of that activity. It brings
Well, that's kind of fun.
awareness.
I like
Yeah,
that.
it's an awareness activity, forces us to acknowledge our body, feel that blood flow. That's an easy way where you can start doing that. And then as you start to get silent, you feel the blood going through your body. You pay attention and breathe.
I think that's a practice actually that you can do laying down in a meditative state
Yeah.
where you tighten your body and then you loosen it. I know I've done stuff kind of similar and it's actually pretty neat, but I've never put that intention on it. So it's interesting to do that.
And I've done it obviously. I mean, I put these in, but I've done it before when I get angry,
Mm.
out in public.
Yeah.
Someone is pushing me. They're not just, contradicting me or conflicting with me. They're being disrespectful to me or my family, but it's not the place. I will clench my fists and people are like, what are you going to do, swing? No, absolutely not. But I need that tension to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I do that. And that's why you see me sometimes when I get irritated, I'll start doing this movement
Mm.
with my hands. It's to bring awareness to my body, allow my emotion to have me
Mhm.
run my mouth. Does
Right.
that mean I'm going to go attack someone like a savage beast? No, but it forces me to be aware because I'm doing something. I'm taking that tension, I'm working my muscles, blood flow's going.
Yeah.
So it's not rushing here
Yeah.
to where there's going to be damage done. And so this is just an awareness thing of you can use it at any point. I've done it when I've been sad. So I want to cry, remain calm because you can also pace your breathing with it. But we're going to leave you guys today with the fact that conflict clarifies. Okay. I'm so excited this way. Conflict clarifies who we are willing to be
Mhm.
because it's not about, well, I was afraid, so I did this. That's who you were willing to be under those circumstances.
Yeah.
It's okay sometimes. Some of these people come back and they get other acts of courage. They get their second chance. But others stood their ground and fell because someone didn't stand with them, because they betrayed them. We see that with our hero, right? Because usually a hero has to fall to be written into history like this. Everyone falls. There are heroes that have been erased by their own nations and lied about. And then they put them on this huge pedestal, even though they're the ones that took them out, because that's what we can give them now that they're gone. That's what we can give the family. How about you give us back our parent,
Mm.
our spouse? How about you give back life? That's right, you can't because you're not God. You're not a
Exactly.
divine being, but
Mm.
you'll answer to one day.
Yep.
And my person's protected by them now. So whatever you did to them here, they're protected. I
Mhm.
believe all these people that have suffered, all these people that have lost their lives in these battles, or for the arrogance of other people, I do believe that they are all in their heavens, in their paradises, for respecting their people, their culture, for standing there and fighting. I do believe that they are where they intended to be, protected,
Mhm.
honored. And that's something beautiful. But just remember that conflict and confrontation is necessary because it addresses and it clarifies who we are and who we're willing to be. It never comes in the beautiful times.
Mhm.
It comes in the darkness, in the bloodshed, in the days where we lose people and we cannot bring them back. That's where we figure out who we are, you know?
Mhm.
And have about one more difficult day for our tested hero. Um, we have one more tough day for our tested hero, and then we get into the other side of the ones that do make it,
Yeah.
or what happens after. So it's a little bit lighter. Tomorrow we got the big sacrifice
Yeah.
to Christianity comes tomorrow.
Ooh.
So we get that one. Tomorrow is the sacrifice, and it's gonna be tough because it's usually the people closest to us, but also it's usually the people closest to us that push us into our purpose, good or bad.
Yeah.
Whatever we think about certain characters throughout history, they might have been the only ones that completed their job.
Mhm.
And we get to see some of that tomorrow. But just remember, it's all for a reason. Life continues. Our stories are never gone because even if people forget us, who cares? We'll be
Mhm.
covered in dust in 1,000 years, so will everyone else with us. But the earth will remember
Yeah.
because our energy is part of it now. It'll honor us in ways that I have no idea. So Keep battling on. And we'll see you tomorrow for March 23rd.
Love you guys. Thanks for coming in. See you tomorrow.